A week passed after the meeting in Council Chamber 7. June spent most of that time alone in his quarters, thinking about everything he had learned. He barely ate. He barely slept. The weight of the truth pressed down on him like a stone. Tay visited him twice, worried about his silence. June told him some of what had happened, but not everything. Some things were too heavy to share. On the 8th day, June finally emerged. He had made his decision. He requested a formal meeting with the full council. His request was granted immediately. Word had spread among the council members that something important had happened. They were curious to see what the human ambassador would do next. The main council chamber was full when June arrived. Hundreds of aliens filled the seats, their strange eyes watching as he walked to the center platform. Hannah was there. Gray was there. Elder Sun sat in a special seat reserved for the most ancient members. And Wu stood near the back, his expression unreadable. The council leader spoke. Ambassador June of Earth, you requested this meeting. The council is listening. June stood straight. He had practiced this moment in his mind 1,000 times. Now that it was here, the words came easily. Honored Council, he began. 1 week ago, I learned a truth that changed everything I believed about my people and our place in the galaxy. I learned that humans are not in the threat assessment database because our potential danger is too high to be rated. I learned that some of you wanted to destroy us before we could become a threat. And I learned that we are being watched, tested, judged on every action we take. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many council members had not known these details. They shifted uncomfortably in their seats. I will be honest with you, June continued. When I first learned this, I was angry. I felt betrayed. I thought the council was our enemy, hiding the truth while pretending to be our friend. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. But then I thought more carefully. I thought about why you made these decisions. I thought about what you have seen in your long history. Species that destroyed themselves. Civilizations that burned bright and then vanished. You have watched countless young species make the same mistakes over and over again. June looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as he could. You were afraid of us. And I understand why. Our history is full of violence. We have killed millions of our own kind in wars that meant nothing. We have built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. From the outside, we must look like monsters waiting to be unleashed. Elder Sun nodded slowly. The council leader remained still, listening. But there is something you may not understand about humans, June said. Something that does not appear in any database or file. We know what we are. We know the darkness inside ourselves. And we fight against it every single day. He stepped closer to the council seats, his voice growing stronger. You think our violence makes us dangerous. You are right. But you are also wrong. Our violence is not our greatest strength. Our greatest strength is that we recognize our violence and choose to be better. Every generation, we try to build a more peaceful world. We fail. We fall back into old patterns. But we never stop trying. June pointed at the ceiling, at the stars beyond. You have been watching us for centuries. You have seen our wars. But have you seen our peace treaties? Have you seen the hospitals we build and the children we protect? Have you seen the art we create and the love we share? We are not only the species that invented nuclear bombs. We are also the species that invented music and poetry and medicine. The chamber was completely silent now. Every eye was focused on June. I am not here to threaten you, he said. I am not here to demand respect or make promises I cannot keep. I am here to tell you one simple truth. He took a deep breath. Humanity wants friends, not enemies. We want to learn from you and share what we have learned. We want to explore the galaxy together and build something beautiful that will last for millions of years. That is what we want. June paused. His next words would be the most important. But I will also tell you this. If anyone tries to harm Earth, if anyone moves against our people or threatens our children, we will not surrender. We will not negotiate. We will fight with everything we have. And we will never stop fighting until the threat is destroyed or we are gone. His voice hardened. You excluded us from the threat database because you could not calculate our danger level. Good. Keep it that way. Let our potential remain unknown. Because the moment anyone becomes certain that they can defeat humanity is the moment they have already lost. June smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who understood exactly what he was and was not ashamed of it. We are dangerous. We know it. You know it. But we choose to use that danger to protect, not to destroy. Accept us as friends, and you will have the most loyal allies in the galaxy. Treat us as enemies, and you will understand why we were excluded from the database. The silence that followed was profound. Council members who had never felt fear in their long lives felt something cold creeping through them. The small human standing in the center of the chamber seemed suddenly larger, more powerful, more dangerous than anything they had faced in 1,000 years. The council leader spoke. You speak boldly, Ambassador June. Some might call your words a threat. They are not a threat, June replied calmly. They are a promise. The same promise we make to ourselves every day. We will be better than our worst instincts. We will build instead of destroy. We will love instead of hate. But we will never, ever let anyone take our future from us. Wu stepped forward from his place near the back. The old man was smiling, tears forming in the corners of his eyes. This is why I believed in humanity, he said softly. This is what I saw 60 years ago when I argued for your survival. Not just the violence, the choice. The eternal struggle to be better. Elder Sun raised his staff and tapped it against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber. The human has spoken, he said. Let the council remember this day. Let us remember this young one who came before us with fire in his heart and peace on his lips. Whatever the future holds, we will not be able to say we were not warned. The meeting ended shortly after. Council members filed out slowly, casting glances at June as they passed. Some looked at him with fear, some with respect, some with something that might have been the beginning of hope. Gray approached June as the chamber emptied. The tall alien stood in silence for a long moment. You surprised them, Gray finally said. They expected anger or fear. You gave them something else. What did I give them? June asked. Honesty, and perhaps a reason to believe that the future might be different from the past. June nodded. He felt exhausted but also strangely light. The weight he had carried for a week was still there, but it felt different now. Manageable. Tay was waiting outside the chamber. The young engineer grabbed June's shoulder. That was incredible, Tay said. I watched on the public feed. Everyone on the station is talking about it. You told them who we really are. June smiled tiredly. I told them what I hope we can be. The rest is up to all of us. As they walked back toward June's quarters, a message appeared on his communication device. It was from Earth, the first official response to his speech. Ambassador June, your words have been heard. Earth stands behind you. Continue the mission. Make us proud. June read the message and felt tears forming in his eyes. He was just one man, one small human on a station full of ancient and powerful beings. But he had spoken for his entire species, and they had accepted his words. He looked out a window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning, carrying billions of humans who had no idea how the galaxy saw them. Dangerous, unpredictable, terrifying, but also capable of choice. capable of change, capable of becoming something better. The database would never list humans. Their potential would remain unknown, unlimited, feared. And that was exactly how June wanted it, because in a galaxy full of calculated threats and measured dangers, humanity would always be the wild card, the unknown factor, the species that could not be predicted or contained, and that made them the most dangerous thing in the universe. Or the most hopeful. The choice, as always, was theirs to make. 3 days passed after June and Tay broke into the restricted archives. 3 days of waiting and wondering. 3 days of looking over his shoulder and expecting security officers to appear at his door. But nothing happened. The station continued as normal. Aliens went about their business. The council held meetings, and June attended diplomatic functions, smiling and nodding while his mind raced with what he had learned. On the 4th day, the summons came. A message appeared on his communication device. It was brief and formal. Ambassador June of Earth, your presence is requested at Council Chamber 7. Attendance is mandatory. Come alone. June read the message 3 times. His heart sank. They knew. Somehow, they knew what he had done. He considered running. He considered calling Tay and warning him. But where would they go? They were on a space station in the middle of the galaxy, surrounded by species who had been traveling the stars for millions of years. There was no escape. June straightened his uniform, took a deep breath, and walked to Council Chamber 7. The chamber was smaller than the main council hall. It was a circular room with soft lighting and comfortable seats arranged in a half circle. Only 4 people waited inside. The first was Hannah, the diplomatic advisor who had dismissed his questions before. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. The second was Gray, his guide from the first day. The tall alien stood near the wall, watching silently. The third was a creature June had never seen before. It was small, barely reaching his waist, with wrinkled skin and enormous eyes that seemed to see everything. It wore simple robes and leaned on a staff made of some dark material. The fourth was an elderly human. June stopped walking. A human? Here? He had not known there were any other humans in positions of authority on the station. The elderly man smiled warmly. He had gray hair and deep wrinkles around his kind eyes. He wore the same style of robes as the small alien, marking him as someone of importance. "Please sit down," the old man said. His voice was gentle. "My name is Wu. I have waited a long time to meet you." June sat slowly, keeping his eyes on the old man. "You are human. How is that possible?" "Earth only made contact 3 years ago." Wu's smile widened. "That is what the public knows. The truth is more complicated. Please, let me explain." He gestured to the small alien beside him. "This is Elder Sun. He is one of the oldest beings in the council, over 4,000 years old. We have worked together for a very long time." Elder Sun bowed his enormous head toward June. "Welcome, young one. We have much to discuss." June felt his head spinning. "I do not understand. What is happening?" Hannah spoke up, her voice cold. "You broke into restricted archives. You accessed files that were meant only for council leaders. That is a serious crime. Let me handle this," Wu said gently. He turned to June. "Yes, we know what you did. The AI detected the breach, but I asked them to wait before taking action. I wanted to speak with you first." "Why?" June asked. "Because you asked the right question." Wu leaned forward. "You wanted to know why humans are not in the threat database. That question has not been asked by any human ambassador before. It shows that you are curious, that you think beyond what you are told." June felt confused. "You are not angry? Angry?" "No." Wu shook his head. "I am proud. You did exactly what a human would do. You saw a mystery, and you could not leave it alone. You took risks to find the truth. That is what makes us what we are. Elder Son made a soft sound, something like a sigh. Perhaps it is time to tell him everything? Wu nodded. You read the restricted file. You know that humans were excluded from the database because we could not be rated. But there is more to the story. He stood and walked to a window that looked out at the stars. I left Earth 60 years ago. I was a young scientist, chosen for a secret expedition. We discovered alien life long before the public knew. But the Council asked us to keep it secret until humanity was ready. Ready for what? June asked. Ready to join the galaxy without destroying ourselves. Wu turned to face him. You see, the Council has seen many species rise and fall. Young species often destroy themselves when they learn they are not alone. The knowledge is too much. They become afraid or arrogant or desperate. They start wars they cannot win. The Elder Son spoke, his voice like dry leaves rustling. We have watched your species for centuries. You are remarkable and terrifying. Terrifying? June repeated. You have survived everything, Elder Son said. Ice ages that killed most life on your planet. Plagues that reduced your population by half. Wars that made the ground itself turn to ash. And yet you continued. You rebuilt. You grew stronger. No other species in our records has shown such persistence. Wu sat down again. When the Council first learned about humans, they were unsure how to respond. Some wanted to destroy Earth before you became a threat. Others wanted to study you. A few wanted to welcome you as friends. They wanted to destroy us? June felt a chill run through him. Some of them, yes. They looked at your history and saw only violence. They saw nuclear weapons and wars and cruelty. They thought you were too dangerous to let live. June's hands clenched into fists. And what stopped them? Wu smiled sadly. I did. I argued that humans were more than their violence. I showed them our art, our music, our love for each other. I showed them how we care for our young and our old. I showed them that the same species that created weapons could also create beauty. Elder Son nodded. It was a close decision, but we agreed to give humanity a chance. We would watch and wait. And if you proved that you could be peaceful, you would be welcomed into the Council. Hannah spoke again. That is why humans are not in the database. If we rated you honestly, the rating would be so high that every species in the galaxy would demand your destruction. We would have no choice but to act. June felt his heart beating hard. How high would the rating be? Silence filled the room. Wu and Elder Son exchanged a look. In the history of the database, Elder Son said slowly, only one species has ever received the highest rating. They were called the Devourers. They consumed entire galaxies before they were stopped. It took the united effort of 1,000 civilizations to defeat them. He paused. If humans were rated honestly, you would be second. Only to them. June could not breathe. Second highest threat in the galaxy. Humanity. His people. Farmers and teachers and children. Second only to galaxy-destroying monsters. That cannot be right, he whispered. It is not about what you have done, Wu explained. It is about what you could do. The database measures potential. And human potential is nearly unlimited. Other species have strengths, Elder Son added. But they also have weaknesses that limit them. Humans have weaknesses too, but you do not let them stop you. You turn weaknesses into strengths. You adapt. You overcome. That is what makes you so dangerous. June sat in silence, trying to understand. His whole life, he had thought of humans as ordinary. Just one species among many. Now he was learning that the galaxy looked at them the way ancient people looked at sleeping dragons. Why are you telling me this? He finally asked. Wu leaned forward. Because you will be our voice to humanity. When Earth finally learns the full truth about the galaxy, they will need someone to guide them. Someone who understands both sides. The Council is not your enemy, Elder Sun said. We want to be your friends. But friendship requires trust. And trust requires honesty. Hannah stood. The question now is what you will do with this knowledge. Will you use it wisely? Or will you prove that those who wanted to destroy humanity were right? June looked at each of them in turn. The alien elder who had lived for 4,000 years. The human who had spent 60 years building bridges between worlds. The diplomat who still was not sure if he could be trusted. And the silent guide who had been watching him from the beginning. I need time to think, June said. Wu nodded. Of course. Take all the time you need. But remember, June, the galaxy is watching. Everything you do, everything you say, reflects on all of humanity. Choose carefully. June stood and walked to the door. Before he left, he turned back. You said humans could be friends or enemies. What do you think we will become? Wu smiled, and for the first time, June saw hope in his eyes. I have believed in humanity for 60 years. I still believe. The question is not what I think. The question is what you will choose to be. June left the chamber with those words echoing in his mind. The weight of his entire species rested on his shoulders, and he was not sure if he was strong enough to carry it. The station was quietest during the third sleep cycle. Most species rested during this time, and the corridors became empty and dark. This was when Tay had chosen to act. June met him at the maintenance department at the appointed hour. Tay was wearing a dark jumpsuit and carrying a small bag of tools. His face was serious, but his eyes held a spark of excitement. Are you ready? Tay asked. June nodded. He had changed out of his ambassador uniform into simple clothes. If they were caught, he did not want to be recognized immediately. The restricted archives are in Section 12, Tay explained as they walked. Security is automated. The AI watches everything. But there is a maintenance tunnel that passes near the archive servers. I can access the system from there. Will the AI not detect you? Tay smiled. I have been working on this station for a year. I know its systems better than most aliens do. The AI has blind spots. Small gaps in its attention. I know where they are. They move through the station like shadows, avoiding the main corridors and using service passages that most visitors never saw. June was impressed by how well Tay knew the station. Every turn, every door, every hidden shortcut, he knew it all. How did you learn all this? June whispered. I am an engineer, Tay replied. Engineers need to understand how things work, including the things we are not supposed to touch. After nearly an hour of walking, they reached a small hatch in the floor. Tay opened it carefully, revealing a narrow tunnel that dropped down into darkness. This is it, Tay said. The maintenance tunnel. It is tight, but we can fit. The archive servers are about 200 meters ahead. June looked down into the darkness. His heart was pounding. This was real. They were really doing this. They climbed down into the tunnel and began crawling. The space was barely wide enough for their shoulders, and the metal walls pressed against them on all sides. June could hear the hum of machinery all around him, the heartbeat of the station. Almost there, Tay whispered. They emerged into a small room filled with blinking lights and humming machines. Cables ran across the floor and up the walls, connecting everything to everything else. This was the brain of the archive, the place where all the station's information was stored. Tay moved quickly. He pulled a device from his bag and connected it to one of the cables. His fingers danced across a small screen, entering commands that June could not understand. I am bypassing the security protocols, Tay explained. It will take a few minutes, Keep watch. June stood near the entrance of the tunnel, listening for any sound of approach. The room was cold, and he could see his breath in the air. Every second felt like an hour. Got it, Tay said finally. I am in. What do you want to find? The threat assessment database. The real files. Not the public version. Tay typed quickly. There are multiple versions of the database. The public one, which you saw. A council-only version with more details. And something called the Archive Prime. It is the original, unedited database. Very restricted. Only the council leaders have access. Can you open it? Tay hesitated. I can try. But if I fail, the security system will know someone tried to break in. We will have to run. June thought for a moment. They had come this far. They could not turn back now. Try it. Tay took a deep breath and entered a series of commands. The screen flickered. Red warnings appeared, then disappeared. For a terrible moment, June thought they had failed. Then the screen turned green. We are in, Tay said, his voice filled with disbelief. I cannot believe that worked. The Archive Prime opened before them. It was different from the public database. More detailed. More honest. June leaned over Tay's shoulder and began reading. The first thing he noticed was that the threat ratings were much higher than in the public version. Species that had seemed only moderately dangerous were listed as extreme threats. Species that had seemed peaceful had hidden weapons programs and secret military capabilities. The public database is a lie, June muttered. They show everyone a softer version of the truth. Makes sense, Tay said. If everyone knew how dangerous their neighbors really were, there would be panic. June kept scrolling. Find a section about humans. There must be something. Tay searched the database. For a moment, there were no results. Then a single file appeared. It was labeled Species 7214, Earth Humans. Classification, excluded. Excluded, June read aloud. Not unrated, excluded. There is a difference. Open it, Tay said. June clicked on the file. A wall of text appeared, written in the formal language of the council. He began to read, and with each sentence, his heart beat faster. The file began with basic information about humanity. Population, home planet, technological level. But then it changed. The tone became different, worried, almost afraid. Species 7214 presents a unique challenge for threat assessment, the file read. Standard rating methods cannot be applied due to the unpredictable nature of the species. Unpredictable nature? June muttered. What does that mean? He read further. Earth humans display a combination of traits never before observed in any galactic species. They possess extreme adaptability, allowing them to survive in almost any environment. They demonstrate persistence beyond logical limits, continuing to fight and struggle long after any reasonable species would surrender. Most concerning is their capacity for rapid technological advancement when placed under pressure. June felt a strange feeling in his chest. Pride? Fear? He was not sure. The file continued. Historical analysis of Earth reveals a species that has survived mass extinctions, ice ages, plagues, and countless wars against itself. Despite every opportunity to destroy themselves, they have survived and grown stronger. This pattern of survival through adversity is unprecedented. They are describing us like we are monsters. Tay whispered. Keep reading, June said. Standard threat assessment assumes that species have limits. Physical limits, psychological limits, technological limits. Earth humans appear to lack such limits. When faced with obstacles, they do not accept defeat. They change. They adapt. They overcome. This makes traditional threat rating impossible. The next section was titled Psychological assessment. Earth humans possess several psychological traits that amplify their threat potential. First, they are capable of extreme violence without losing their social cohesion. Other violent species tend to destroy themselves through internal conflict. Humans channel their violence outward while maintaining stable societies. Second, they form strong emotional bonds that motivate them to extreme action. A single human may risk everything, including their own life, to protect another. This makes them unpredictable and dangerous when threatened. Third, they possess something they call spite. This is the desire to harm an enemy even at great cost to oneself. Many species will retreat when the cost of conflict becomes too high. Humans will sometimes continue fighting purely to ensure their enemy also suffers. June stopped reading. His hands were shaking. "This is why they excluded us," he said quietly. "They do not know how to rate us. They cannot predict what we will do." Tay pointed at the screen. "There is more." The final section of the file was titled Recommendation. After extensive analysis, the assessment committee has determined that Earth humans cannot be assigned a standard threat rating. Any rating would either underestimate their potential danger or cause unnecessary panic among council species. Therefore, the committee recommends that Earth humans be excluded from the public database entirely. Information about human capabilities should be restricted to council leaders only. All interactions with humans should be monitored carefully. Under no circumstances should humans be given reason to view the council as a threat. The file ended there. June and Tay sat in silence for a long moment. The hum of the machines filled the air around them. "They are afraid of us," Tay finally said. "The entire council. They are afraid of what humans might do." June nodded slowly. He thought about Earth's history. The wars, the weapons, the endless struggle for survival. He thought about how humanity had crawled out of caves and reached the stars in just a few thousand years. He thought about nuclear bombs and plague survivors and soldiers who fought to the last breath. From the outside, humanity must look terrifying. "We need to leave," June said, "before the AI detects us." Tay closed the files and removed his device. They crawled back through the maintenance tunnel in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. When they emerged into the station's corridors, the sleep cycle was ending. Workers were beginning to move through the halls. June and Tay separated, agreeing to meet later to discuss what they had learned. As June walked back to his quarters, he passed a group of aliens. They looked at him as he passed, and he saw something new in their eyes. Fear. They were afraid of him. They had always been afraid. He just had not noticed it before. June entered his room and sat down heavily on his bed. He had wanted answers. Now he had them. But he was not sure what to do with them. The council was afraid of humanity. And perhaps they had good reason to be. June did not sleep well that night. His mind kept returning to the database, to the empty space where humanity should have been listed. He lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling, watching the soft lights change color as the station moved through its night cycle. Why were humans not listed? It made no sense. Even the weakest species in the galaxy had a threat rating. He had seen entries for creatures that could barely defend themselves, rated at the very bottom of the list. But humans had nothing. No entry. No rating. No information at all. By the time morning came, June had made a decision. He would ask someone. He would find answers. He got dressed in his formal ambassador uniform, a simple black suit with Earth's symbol on the chest. He looked at himself in the mirror and tried to appear confident. Today, he would meet the council. Today, he would represent all of humanity. Gray came to collect him at the appointed time. The tall alien said nothing about June's tired eyes or his nervous hands. They walked together through the corridors, passing dozens of other species going about their daily business. "The council chamber is ahead," Gray said. Remember to speak only when spoken to. Show respect. Do not ask unnecessary questions. June nodded, but his mind was already planning. He would find a way to ask about the database. He needed to know. The council chamber was enormous. It was shaped like a half circle, with rows of seats rising up toward the ceiling. In the center was a small platform where visitors stood to address the council. Hundreds of aliens filled the seats, representing species from across the galaxy. Their eyes, some with pupils and some without, all turned to look at June as he entered. He walked to the center platform and stood straight. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst out. An elderly alien sat in the highest seat. It had pale purple skin and eyes that seemed to glow with wisdom. This was the council leader, a being who had lived for over 800 years. "Welcome, representative of Earth," the council leader said. Its voice echoed through the chamber. "You are the first of your kind to stand before us. We are pleased to meet you." June bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, honored council. I am grateful for this opportunity." The meeting continued for over an hour. The council asked June about Earth, about human culture, about their hopes for joining the galactic community. June answered each question carefully, trying to present humanity in the best possible light. He spoke about their art, their science, their dreams of exploring the stars. But through it all, he kept thinking about the database. Finally, when the formal questions ended, the council leader asked if June had any questions of his own. This was his chance. "I have one question," June said. He could feel his voice shaking slightly. "Yesterday, I visited the archive and saw the Universal Threat Database. I noticed that humans are not listed. May I ask why?" The chamber went silent. June looked around. Every alien in the room had stopped moving. Some of them exchanged glances with each other. Others looked away, as if they did not want to meet his eyes. The council leader's expression did not change, but something shifted in those glowing eyes. Something that looked almost like concern. "That is an administrative matter," the council leader said slowly. "It is not relevant to today's discussion." "With respect," June continued, "I am curious. Every species is listed, even species with no weapons or military capability. Why are humans different?" Before the council leader could respond, another voice spoke up from the seats. "The human asks good questions." June turned to see who had spoken. A female alien was standing in the third row. She had smooth gray skin and sharp features, with eyes that sparkled like black diamonds. She wore the robes of a senior diplomat. "I am Hannah," she said, "Senior Diplomatic Advisor to the Council. I would be happy to explain this matter to our guest." The council leader nodded slowly. "Very well. Advisor Hannah, please continue." Hannah walked down to the center platform and stood beside June. She was taller than him by nearly a head, and she moved with grace and confidence. "The Universal Threat Database is a tool," she explained. "It helps us understand the capabilities of different species. It allows us to prepare for potential conflicts and to allocate security resources appropriately." June nodded. "I understand. But that does not explain why humans are not included." Hannah smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Humans are a new species to us. You have only been known to the galaxy for 3 years. The database requires extensive analysis and study. Your species simply has not been evaluated yet." It sounded reasonable. It sounded logical. But June did not believe it. He had seen the database. He had seen entries for species discovered even more recently than humanity. Some of them had been added within months of first contact. The excuse did not make sense. "I see," June said carefully. "When will the evaluation be completed?" Hannah's smile faded slightly. "These things take time. You should not concern yourself with such matters. Focus on building relationships with the council. That is what matters. June wanted to argue, but he could feel the tension in the room. Every eye was watching him. Every ear was listening. This was not the place to push further. "Thank you for the explanation," he said simply. The meeting ended soon after. Gray escorted June back to his quarters, and the alien seemed even more quiet than usual. June could feel that something had changed. His question had disturbed the council. It had touched something sensitive. When he was alone in his room, June sat down and thought carefully. Hana's explanation was a lie. He was certain of it. But why would the council hide information about humans? What were they afraid of? He needed to investigate, but he could not do it alone. June remembered a name from his briefing files. Before leaving Earth, he had been given information about humans who already lived and worked on the station. There were only a handful of them, mostly scientists and engineers who had arrived in the past. One name stood out. Tay, a young engineer who worked in the station's maintenance department. According to the files, Tay was brilliant with technology and had already earned respect among the alien workers. June decided to find him. The maintenance department was located in the lower levels of the station, far from the elegant corridors where diplomats walked. June followed the signs, passing through areas that grew darker and more industrial. The walls here were bare metal, and the air smelled of oil and electricity. He found Tay in a small workshop, surrounded by tools and machine parts. Tay was a young man, perhaps 25 years old, with messy hair and grease stains on his clothes. He looked up when June entered, surprise clear on his face. "You are the ambassador," Tay said. "I saw your arrival on the news feeds. What are you doing down here?" June closed the door behind him. "I need your help." Tay put down the tool he was holding. "My help? With what?" "I found something strange. The Universal Threat Database, the one that ranks dangerous species, it does not include humans. When I asked the council about it, they gave me an excuse that made no sense. Something is being hidden." He was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed softly. "You noticed that too?" June stared at him. "You know about this?" "I work with aliens every day," Tay said. "I hear things, whispers, rumors. The other workers, they look at me differently sometimes. Like they are afraid, but trying not to show it. I always wondered why. And you never asked?" Tay shrugged. "I am just an engineer. Nobody tells me anything important. But you are different. You are an ambassador. You have access to things I do not." June leaned forward. "Can you help me access restricted files? I want to know the truth." Tay was silent for a long time. June could see him thinking, weighing the risks. Finally, Tay nodded. "I know a way into the restricted archives. It is not exactly legal. If we get caught, we will both be in serious trouble." June thought about Hana's cold smile. He thought about the council's silence. He thought about all the secrets being kept from humanity. "I am willing to take that risk," he said. Tay smiled. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for adventure. "Then let us find out what they are hiding." The ship was cold. June had noticed this the moment he stepped inside. The Galactic Council station floated in the darkness of space like a massive metal flower, and it was beautiful from the outside. But inside, everything felt strange and unwelcoming. June was a young man from Earth. He was 32 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. He had trained for 5 years to become humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. 5 years of learning alien languages, studying alien cultures, and preparing his mind for things no human had ever seen before. Now he was here, walking through corridors made for creatures much larger than himself. The walls were a pale blue color, and they seemed to glow softly. Strange symbols covered every surface, and June could only understand a few of them. His translator device hung from his ear, whispering meanings into his brain whenever someone spoke. But written words were different. Written words took time. A guide walked beside him. The guide was not human. It was a tall creature with 4 arms and skin that looked like wet stone. Its name was something June could not pronounce. So the creature had told him to simply call it Gray. Gray moved smoothly, like water flowing downhill, and its voice was deep and calm. "You are the first of your kind to visit this station," Gray said. "The council is curious about you." June nodded. He had expected curiosity. Earth had only made contact with the galaxy 3 years ago, when a trading ship had accidentally discovered their little blue planet. Since then, everything had changed. Humans learned they were not alone. They learned the universe was full of life, full of civilizations far older and more advanced than their own. "I am honored to be here," June said carefully. His words felt small in the huge corridor. Gray made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Honor is a human concept. Here, we speak of duty and function. You function as a bridge between your world and ours. That is your purpose." June did not argue. He was too busy looking around, trying to remember everything he saw. The council station was home to representatives from over 200 species. Some of them breathed oxygen like humans. Others breathed gases that would kill a human in seconds. The station was divided into sections, each one designed for different kinds of life. Gray led June to his quarters first. The room was small but comfortable, with a bed that adjusted to his body shape and a window that showed the stars outside. June put down his bag and looked out at the infinite darkness. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning around its sun, completely unaware of how small it truly was. "You may explore the common areas," Gray told him, "but do not enter restricted zones. The council will meet with you tomorrow." After Gray left, June sat on his bed and tried to calm his racing heart. He was excited and terrified at the same time. This was the greatest adventure any human had ever experienced. He could not waste it by sitting in his room. He decided to explore. The common areas of the station were filled with aliens of every shape and size. Some walked on 2 legs like June. Others crawled, floated, or moved in ways he could not understand. The air smelled strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. June kept his head down and tried not to stare, but it was hard. Everything was so new, so different. He found a large room that looked like a library. The walls were covered with screens, and floating platforms carried visitors to different levels. June stepped inside carefully, feeling very small among the towering shelves of glowing data crystals. A machine floated toward him. It was round and silver, with a single blue eye that blinked at him. "Welcome, visitor," the machine said. "I am the archive keeper. How may I assist you?" June thought for a moment. He wanted to learn about the galaxy, about the species he would be working with. "Can you show me information about the different species in the council?" he asked. "Of course. Please follow me." The machine led him to a quiet corner of the library, where a large screen waited. The archive keeper touched the screen with a beam of light, and suddenly thousands of images appeared. Faces of aliens, some beautiful and some terrifying, filled the display. "This is the species registry," the archive keeper explained. "It contains information about every known civilization in the galaxy. Population, history, culture, abilities." June leaned closer, fascinated. He scrolled through the entries, reading about creatures that lived in oceans of acid, beings made of pure energy, and civilizations that had existed for millions of years. Each entry was detailed and organized, like a galactic encyclopedia. Then he noticed something. At the bottom of the screen, there was a separate section labeled Threat Assessment Database. "What is that?" June asked, Pointing to the label. The archive keeper paused. That is the Universal Threat Database. It ranks all species according to their danger level. It is used by the Council for security and planning purposes. June felt a strange feeling in his chest. Danger level? The galaxy ranked species by how dangerous they were. Can I see it? He asked. Access is permitted to all council members and registered ambassadors. You are registered. You may view it. The screen changed. A new list appeared, showing species ranked from most dangerous to least dangerous. At the top were creatures June had never heard of, with names that sounded like nightmares. The descriptions were terrifying. One species could destroy planets with their minds. Another could eat through any material in the universe. A third could reproduce so fast that they could consume entire star systems in a single generation. June scrolled down slowly, reading each entry with growing unease. These were the monsters of the galaxy, the species that everyone feared. And yet, they were all part of the same universe as humanity. He kept scrolling, looking for Earth, looking for humans. He scrolled past hundreds of entries. Thousands of species ranked by their ability to kill, destroy, and conquer. But humans were not there. June frowned and scrolled back up. Maybe he had missed it. He searched for Earth in the database. Nothing. He searched for human. Nothing. He searched for Homo sapiens. Still nothing. His species was not listed. June stared at the screen, confused. Every species in the galaxy was ranked. Every civilization, no matter how small or weak, had a place on the list. But humans, who had built nuclear weapons and survived ice ages and conquered their own planet, were completely absent. Archive Keeper, June said slowly. Why are humans not listed in the Threat Assessment Database? The machine was silent for a long moment. Its blue eye blinked once, twice, 3 times. I do not have that information, it finally said. That question requires higher authorization. June felt a chill run down his spine. Something was wrong here. Something was being hidden. And he was going to find out what it was.